Yes,
serving
that's right.
an administration that targets people, racially profiles people, you know, is basically persecuting and torturing Latinos and Latino immigrants, is taking away voting rights from the African Americans, firing people for the color of their skin.
How dare he stand by complicitly and allow Latinos to be rounded up, allow American citizens to be shot in the face and shot in the chest and shot in the back?
The turncoat.
Some space
he'll
to be
turn
able to run
against
for office.
whoever he has
I think
to
he
turn
has to
against.
ride.
The View is wasting no time initiating their smear campaign against Marco Rubio. Before he even considers a 2028 presidential run, they want to make sure they start the brainwashing early. Don't forget to subscribe.
Marco Rubio seemed to have a come-to-Jesus moment this week. Yeah, he had a very friendly meeting with one of Trump's enemies, the Pope. He also went viral for answering a question from the Christian Broadcast Network about his vision for America. Watch.
My hope for America is what it's always been. I think it's the hope I hope we all share. We want it to continue to be the place where anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, where you're not limited by the circumstances of your birth, by the color of your skin, by your ethnicity, but frankly, it's a place where you are able to overcome challenges and achieve your full potential. I think that should be the goal of every country in the world, frankly, but I think in the U.S. we're not perfect. Our history is not one of perfection, but it's still better than anybody else's history, and ours is a story of perpetual improvement. Each generation has left the next generation of Americans freer, more prosperous, safer, and that is our goal as well.
How about stop taking our voting rights away?
Yeah, how about that?
How about that? How about not rounding up immigrants unlawfully?
Yeah,
that
that's-
sounds an awful lot like a campaign speech.
So according to Joy, we shouldn't protect the integrity of our elections, and we should let the millions of people who are in our country illegally just run rampant. But I personally feel like that was a beautiful response from Rubio, and a very true one in my opinion. I think it is a hope we all, well, we who love our country, share, but not so much for the beings of the View, who strive from sowing hate and division.
Is he doing damage control so he can run in 2028?
It actually is a campaign speech. I have been hearing the same version of these words from Marco for 20-plus years. I've known Marco since we were in our 20s. And it kind of breaks my heart because I remember finding him so inspiring. You know, he just has this aspirational quality to him. He's incredibly eloquent. His personal story is so poignant. But it all rings so hollow now for him to say that we live in a country where the color of your skin doesn't matter, where you came from doesn't matter.
Please.
When he has been silently complicit,
Yes,
serving
that's right.
an administration that targets people, racially profiles people, you know, is basically persecuting and torturing Latinos and Latino immigrants, is taking away voting rights from the African Americans, firing people for the color of their skin. So it just... To me, it's heartbreaking and it's disappointing, but I do think Marco is going to end up running in 2028. I know that he tries to play nice, that J.D. Vance and him try to play like they're buddies. I've seen this movie before. I remember when he was Jeb Bush's mentee, when he was incredibly buddy with Jeb Bush and stabbed him in the back. So if I were J.D. Vance, I wouldn't look the other way.
This is unbelievable. These nasty-hearted, vile women planting the seed in the minds of the masses to make them believe that Rubio is complicit in torturing and persecuting Latinos and stripping voting rights away from American citizens. According to the dictionary, complicit basically means that he's involved with others in an illegal, immoral, or wrongful act, suggesting passive or active participation in wrongdoing and doing nothing to stop it. In other words, according to Anna, he's guilty of persecuting and torturing Latinos and stripping people of their voting rights. How delusional do you have to be to concoct these narratives because it's all imaginary in their little pea brains that any of this is happening? Where's the proof behind all these claims? If they can't provide any, they need to cut The View from all networks ASAP. And these women, right along with ABC for being complicit, should be sued into oblivion. But we're not finished because Sunny has a few accusations of her own to spread.
I would be interested to see if Marco Rubio became the candidate where his interests would be, because I don't think they would align with the MAGA that we've seen. I think that is the break in the party. J.D. Vance would be a despicable candidate.
J.D. Vance played to the base. He played to like a small corner of the universe, and I don't think that he's formidable as a general, especially as a general election candidate. The odds-on favorite for the Republican nominee for 2028 as of today are absolutely Marco Rubio.
Well, then the Republicans are going to lose because I do not think that Marco Rubio can remove the stench of the Trump administration from his very being. He is the son of immigrants from Cuba that came here in 1956. How dare he stand by complicitly and allow Latinos to be rounded up, allow American citizens to be shot in the face and shot in the chest and shot in the back? How dare he allow the voting, stand by idly while the Voting Rights Act is gutted and disenfranchising African-American voting, something that African-Americans who built this joint for free, who built this country for free, be disenfranchised of their vote. And at the moment, as the Secretary of State, immigrants from travel ban countries are currently in limbo. The Trump administration has expanded travel restrictions to include 39 countries facing full or partial bans, a lot Black and brown countries. And what about Haiti? You think a Haitian is allowed to be here with their temporary status just thrown away and going back to a country that is in complete political turmoil when his very parents left political turmoil and found asylum here?
Actually, can I tell you something? They didn't leave political turmoil. They left, as you mentioned, in 1956.
1956.
So they left before the Cuban Revolution. They left because they were poor. They left like so many people leave Mexico, leave some other countries because they were looking for for economic opportunities.
Even worse.
Right.
Even worse than on Marco Rubio.
And his grandfather, at one point, had a deportation order. His grandfather, who he adored, had a deportation order against him, would have been deported under Trump.
We can always count on the one whose family sold slaves to cry about oppression and slavery. It's the same old song and dance every time. And Sonny, of all people, you know, being a former federal prosecutor and all, should know that temporary doesn't mean forever. And no one is losing their right to vote. But those who have no right to vote will absolutely lose their ability. That's two different things, and probably the true reason for them pushing all of this fear. But the truth is, if you're an American citizen, your vote is the only one that should be counted. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And another thing they missed, while trying to smear Rubio's name so early in the game, claiming that his family left Cuba because they were poor. But here's a little fact check for Anna. The Cuban Revolution actually started in 1953 and ended in 1959. So if Rubio's family left Cuba in 1956, then he in fact did leave during the Cuban Revolution. But I wouldn't expect these privileged, pompous dimwits to actually fact-check anything they say.
I think that it'll be very telling what Rubio decides to do after the midterm. So if it goes the way we expect, where Democrats take back the House, the Senate looks more competitive for Democrats than it has, does he stick around and stay till the bitter end with Trump? Or does he say, I want to spend a little more time with my wife and kids and give himself some space to be able to run for office?
I think he has to ride with Trump as long as Trump's there.
We need to remember, when people tell you who they are, the first time you believe them.
That's right.
And I believe it.
And on that note, we'll be right back.
The slander never ends with these miserable hacks, and I don't know how they get away with spreading such defaming garbage every day on TV. Now, I could understand if this was for entertainment purposes only, but no, ABC actually classifies The View as a bona fide news interview program, which means that people actually trust the things these delulus say to be true. How scary is that? And speaking of scary, The View must be petrified of a potential Marco Rubio 2028 presidential run. That's why they decided it's time to start their smear campaign early against him. They know they have to start smearing his name as early as possible so they can have more time to twist the public's perception of him. But honestly, I don't think there's anything they can do to stop him from succeeding if he does decide to run. He's officially the most qualified, in my opinion, for the job. And besides, what other option does our poor nation have if it wants to survive? Kamala? We haven't forgotten. Newsom? We see California. AOC? We see your style through New York. So I think not. And The View knows any of their potential candidates wouldn't stand a chance against Marco Rubio, or J.D. Vance for that matter. That's why they sit up there and fearmonger about voting rights being taken away and spread lies about demographics being disenfranchised. Yet they can't provide any proof to back up their claims. They're literally fighting for survival at this point, and it's coming off a bit desperate, at least in my opinion. But I would love to know your thoughts on this in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like and please consider subscribing to the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. And if you're already one of my 189 subscribers, thank you so much for helping the channel grow. I appreciate each and every one of you. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.